It is true to say that often God's people theologize, secularize, rationalize to their own demise. And Amos, a grower of sycamore figs, as well as a shepherd, definitely not clergy, not super educated, came to speak against God's people and to remind them of God's character. Even though he came from the southern kingdom, Amos delivers his prophecy against the northern kingdom of Israel and their accomplices. For the northern kingdom is a clear example of a blessed people who are drunk on their success. This message is directed against these super privileged people who seem to have lost their love for their neighbor, who took advantage of their neighbor, who looked out for their own concerns with no concern for those around them. And Amos holds them accountable for these things, injustices, forgetting that God had an idea and spelt his idea of justice. Secondly, he pointed to the fact that they were selling off disadvantaged people who were made in God's image for goods, in exchange for goods. They were taking advantage of the most vulnerable, oppressing them in the worst moments of their lives. Thirdly, Amos reminds people that men were treating women as objects of their fantasies, not as their equals, not as God's gift. As I said, drunk on their own economic success, they lost the concept of the call of God to care for God's world. And Amos, unafraid, announces that they stand charged before God for forgetting their Maker, forgetting their Redeemer, forgetting the one who issued a call, promises, and a covenant. Arrogance, idolatry, self-righteousness, and materialism ruled, and that was not God's idea of favor. It is us who make religion complicated. God does not. For it is easy to understand that he called people to be his at all times, to work with him, under him, guided by him, empowered by him, in partnership with him, with all the energy and with all the gifts of life. And yes, when God's people go wrong, the call is to come back to him, for he alone can restore and use anybody who is teachable, humble, reverent, faithful, loyal, servant-hearted.